All right, guys, welcome back to the show. It's just about what time you have there, Robert?
34 minutes past 7.
That's correct. And we do have the Honorable Minister of Sports and Community Development on telephone with us this morning to just talk about some good news, news that most of you have been waiting for, the ability to be able to have some of those games, to have competitions in Trinidad and Tobago where sports are concerned. Good morning to you, Minister Cudjoe.
Hi, good morning to you, Natalie, the entire team at TPT. Thank you for having me this morning.
Right, so just tell us, when are we going to be able to, when do things take effect then in terms of reopening and being able to have certain sporting activities?
Okay, well, we are looking at reopening sports from as early as today. We have been working on this plan or this phase to return to play from as early as last year, October, November. The ministry reached out to the national governing bodies under our watch and some of the sports-serving bodies for return to play plans to find out about their vaccination status and their plans for playing sport once again. We know in the past the Ministry of Health had granted exemptions for individuals, for athletes to go out there and play in groups of 5 and less. For also national governing bodies and sporting, but for national governing bodies that were preparing for national competitions and having national training tournaments and so on taking place, they had the opportunity to do so. They got the exemption, but now we are opening it up for vaccinated athletes, coaches, administrators, officials to play sport. At first, we were looking at granting the exemptions for the athletes and officials only, but we've decided to include spectators as more of the population gets vaccinated. For indoor facilities, we have spectators up to 50% of the capacity, carrying capacity for that specific facility, and for outdoor events, 50%. So inside, 25%, outside, 50%.
Isn't that the spectators as well have to be vaccinated?
Spectators also have to be fully vaccinated, and it is at specific facilities where we can do crowd control and manage the spectators and so on, and where the administrators or the people who are hosting the event can guarantee proper cordon of practices so that we can really control the crowd so that there is no unnecessary gathering.
So is it that this will be for contact sports as well? Because I knew that there were always concerns by the ministry about contact sports.
Yes, this is for contact sports as well. So those athletes would have to be fully vaccinated before they can play. So we're asking the national governing bodies and the sports-serving bodies. When I say sports-serving bodies, I mean like your sporting clubs, your community clubs. They would write to the Ministry of Sport for permission to have an event or a program of events, and we're asking them to provide a register or roster of the people who are going to be playing, along with a copy of their IDs and vaccination status and so on. So after they have been cleared at the level of the Ministry of Sport, we then recommend to the Ministry of Health to grant them that approval to go out and play. So the regulations are going to be circulated today so that everybody would have the opportunity to look at it and see how they are being asked to comply so that we can finally get to this place of returning to sport.
Yeah. But this sounds like it's for formal sporting activities, though. But what about just somebody wanting to go out there and bust a sweat? You know, how do you monitor that or ensure that, you know, it's still contact sports, that we don't have violations of the public health regulations or even what the government is trying to achieve? If you're a
sports-serving body, this phase of the rollout is for sports-serving bodies and national governing bodies. We're not at the point where a group of fellas from the neighborhood who want to go out and play could just go out down by the field and play. No, that will be the next phase after we've seen what the outcome of this first phase have provided. Yes? So this first phase speaks to national governing bodies and sports serving bodies, your football clubs and so on. And they have that responsibility to apply and to show that their players are vaccinated, their officials, coaches, and so on are vaccinated, so that we can do so safely. And once we can show that we can do that safely for a period of time, then we can say, and we get a higher level of vaccination from the population, or we've gotten to a point where it's safer to play, then we can expand the parameters to include a larger number of people.
Right, but Ms. Cudjoe, I am here and I'm sitting and thinking to myself, how do you ensure that, people are adhering to the rules of even ensuring that, all the players are vaccinated, have provided their cards? Because the reality is if you have a team with 11 players and 6 of them are vaccinated, it means that a game can't go on unless everybody is vaccinated. What checks and balances are we going to have in place to ensure that if we say the players are vaccinated, that they're actually vaccinated and not mixing and mingling, contrary to what the government is trying to achieve?
Okay. What we are doing, we've learned from the implementation of CPL. We've seen what playing out in a bubble is like. Right now, we're also hosting ICC Cricket World Championships. We've seen tournaments from throughout the Caribbean which are using the same CPL tournament template and looking at sporting competitions and tournaments throughout the world, where they too are being asked, are required to be vaccinated to play. So, like I mentioned earlier, if a national governing body or a sports serving body, which is recognized and registered, wishes to play, have a tournament, not only events, you have practice sessions and so on, they write to the Ministry of Sport saying, this is what we intend to do over the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. These are the players who are going to be involved. And it's going to be done at specific facilities. So, for instance, let's say you're going to the Hasely Crawford Stadium or Larry Gomes or Dwight York Stadium. The officials at the stadium, we have management and staff at the stadium going to be checking vaccination cards along with IDs upon entrance to the stadium, like it's done at for when we hosted CPL and what we're doing now with the ICC cricket and what other countries throughout the region and the world have been doing as it relates to playing in a bubble.
Right, so it's really going to be sports in a bubble just the same, just with vaccination as compared to just public health regulations.
Right.
But in terms of the permission that has to be granted, do we have a timeline, for this? Because as you're saying, it has to go to the Ministry of Sports, then to the Ministry of Health before the national governing body can get that permission to go ahead with whatever activities it has planned. Do we have a timeline for how long this can take, or how short it can take for them to get the requisite permissions?
Sorry, as long as the sporting entity submits everything upon applying, the list of names, the copies of the ID cards, the copies of their vaccination documents, and so on. I don't see this taking more than a couple of days to get that done because the regulation already facilitates. So it's not a major exemption as in the past. The regulations already facilitate for this type of activity to take place.
All right. Well, we're definitely looking forward. I'm positive that a lot of people are looking forward to having some kind of physical activity again. But we're almost out of time. What else is on the horizon for the Ministry of Sports at this time?
Well, today we also launched the Caribbean Development Partnerships Forum, where we are hosting the 5th edition of the forum. We're hearing stories and listening and learning from experiences from ministries of sport and community development throughout the region on how they have utilized sport for the development of their people and their communities. So from right here at home, we have young people from Tobago who have had sporting activities and events to foster community development, like Kevin McKenna, who has done Capture the Flag, Marcus Daniel, who's doing night community cricket. You have Simoy Hackett, who's a former Olympian who's doing community sports in her village of Lambo, and the list goes on. We have from Jamaica, Hans Depashment, and other athletes from throughout the region, or sailor Andrew Lewis, who's going to be telling a story about the veterinary sailing school.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking at stories and experiences from throughout the Caribbean and learning as to how we can continue to use sport to develop communities and to develop our people. So we're welcoming ministers of sport from throughout the region. Of course, it's a totally virtual forum, so we're going to be doing that for the next couple of days. Later on in the year, as March 8th, International Women's Day, we're going to do our Girls Run TT challenge once again, where we challenge over 360 girls to run 70 miles in a number of months. And this is going to be based on routes in Tobago this time. And we have a number of activities coming up. We've been training coaches, administrators, managers, and getting prepared for return to play, certifying them and helping them in their management and providing support to national governing bodies and athletes. Elite athletes are also asked to submit their applications at the beginning of the year. We've opened it for them to submit their applications for funding so that they could be properly funded to assist them with their expenses as they get ready for the Olympics and other regional challenges. So the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, we're doing our work. Of course, I can't focus on sports alone. We have Best Village coming up. Yeah. And we have some activities taking place in February, and we hope for a better rollout of Best Village, a bigger rollout of Best Village this year, considering that more of our performers are going to be vaccinated. So look forward to the fun and excitement as we continue to do our work in the Ministry of Sport and Community Development for 2022.
All right, Shamfa Cudjoe, thank you so much for sharing with us, and continue the great work.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, PPC. God bless. Have a good day.
Same to you, my dear. All right, we're going to go to a break. But remember, the show is not done. We have some new chutney coming up for you. Want to stick around for that?